This podcast features binaural sound. For the optimal listening experience, please use headphones and close your eyes.
Where am I? I wonder how long I've been here for. I don't even know what I've done. Why am I here? Do you think anyone can hear me? What are they going to do to me? Help me.
I must have been about 15 years old. I think it was about 2014. I was going to play football with my friends in the park, and to get there, I had to walk down this very shaded road, which was like just basically a forest with a road going through the middle of it. So it's quite remote. There was like not much going on around that area. So it was weird because I was walking down this road, and there was this white BMW, like one of the big BMWs, and it came up the hill, and it like pulled over onto the other side of the road. So I was walking down the hill. So he pulled over and he was like, "Where are you going to?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to play football with my friends in the park." I had no clue who this guy was. And what really creeped me out from the get-go was half his face was like burnt. Like he kind of had like red marks all over his face. And he was saying, "Oh, get in the car, I'll give you a lift to Nannock," which is where we were playing football, a little village in Wales. And I was like, "Oh no, it's okay. It's only a 15-minute walk. I can walk it. It's quite a nice day." And he was really insistent. I was like, he was like, no, get in the car. I'll give you a lift." And I was like, no, it's fine. I can walk it. It's fine. And he was like, "No, get in the car." And then at this point, it was getting demanding. At this point, it was getting to a point where he was not really giving me an option. So I was a bit like, I'm stuck in this remote road with this guy who wants me to get in his car. I had nowhere to go. I had no one to call because it's the middle of nowhere, so there's no signal. But luckily, a car literally came over the brow of the hill and almost went head first into him, and like beeped at him, and then as soon as he kind of drove off, I just ran. I just ran as fast as I could all the way to Nannock. It was like a 15-minute walk. Usually I got there in about 5 minutes running time because I was just terrified. It was kind of that fight or flight reaction where you're like, stay or go. And at that point, I was so scared that I just couldn't see any other option just to run. And then I got home and I told my mum, and my mum just freaked. She was just like, "You do realise this has been a regular occurrence in this area? There's been loads of things like this going on at the moment. We need to phone the police."
Me and my little brother got kidnapped.
A stranger seized a child.
The most traumatic moment of my life.
Was kidnapped as she walked home from school.
Abduction of 5-year-old April Jones.
I was kidnapped. But looking back on it was when I was like, that was quite bad. If I would have got in that car, he wouldn't have taken me to play football. I don't know where he would have taken me. It could have been anywhere. And nobody knew where I was. Nobody knew where I would have gone. To be honest with you, I was quite naive at the time. I was kind of like, this guy's just offering me a lift at first. And then as it got more aggressive, it kind of got to the point where I was kind of like, this might be it for me. I'm never going to see my mum. It definitely still affects me still now, even though probably to to people externally, it didn't seem like much. To me, that is the closest thing I've had to being taken by someone. And if that car wouldn't have come over the hill, I don't know where I would have been right now. I don't know what would have happened. So still to this day, I'm kind of cautious about walking on my own. I did that trick of having my keys in my knuckles, just in case. More the fact that it's affected my mum more. It affected her a lot afterwards, because she was kind of scared to let my younger sister go out on her own. She wouldn't let me go to play football for a bit. She wouldn't let me go out of the house for a tiny bit. But I didn't see it as a big deal. The police didn't see it as a big deal. But then I saw it as a big deal later on, because a week later, my friend got taken by the same person down the road from my house. It's about 10 minutes the opposite direction of where I almost got taken. So he got taken, and luckily there was traffic lights, and he managed to jump out of the car at the traffic lights. But for me, that affected me a lot more, because I felt guilty at the fact that I hadn't taken it more seriously. I hadn't pushed for this person to be pursued, and they're much more affected by it today than I am. Apparently there's people out there who actively drive around every day trying to find people. Still to this day, it's such a common thing, and I feel like it's become too common, to the point now where it's like the boy cried wolf. You say you've been kidnapped or almost kidnapped, and they're like, oh well, it's not that bad, you escaped, but it's still kind of the trauma. You still kind of had that experience of what if this had happened, what if that had happened, and you kind of like, it still haunts you.
Who are these people? I wonder how long I've been here for.
Hello? Yeah, they're awake. No, they don't know who's got them. Have you heard anything about the money yet? Well, hurry up, it's freezing in here.
What are they going to do to me? I can't be trapped here forever. Help me.
My name's Robert Heathcote. This is a story about my half cousin. I went to school with her, grew up with her. She was a farmer's daughter, very quiet, very, very clever girl. She left school and got a job working in Williams and Glyn's bank in a little village called Prestbury. And she actually worked with her fiance in the bank, and everything was fine. I was actually working then in the forestry department for North West Water, and we'd come in for lunch and we switched the radio on, and it was all over the radio that there'd been a bank hold up in Prestbury. It turned out after a lot of time that he was actually a local chap, and he used to go in and service the adding machines or something like that in the bank. And he'd obviously been watching this and working it all out and planning it for a long time, and he went in and held the bank up at gunpoint. Because we were listening to all this on the radio, and there was police helicopters going round, and it was quite a big thing then. And he actually ended up shooting her fiance in the bank. Something went wrong. I think he actually tried to stop him or apprehend him, and he shot him in the bank. He panicked and he took my cousin hostage, bundled her in a car and drove away. Obviously the alarms were raised and the police obviously finally picked him up and chased him all around everywhere, and we were following this on the radio. It was in February, it was a bitter cold day, and he'd just taken her literally from behind the desk, and they chased him all over the parish and over the other side of the Staffordshire borders, and at some point he actually panicked and he dumped her behind a stone wall up on the moors on the Staffordshire border, and then carried on. And some time after, he was actually cornered and arrested, and he wouldn't say, he couldn't, I don't know whether he wouldn't or couldn't say where he'd actually left her, but he sort of retracked back, and by the time they'd found her up on the moors, and she'd only got a skirt and a blouse on, and she'd actually froze to death. She died of hypothermia. I got home at night and I was telling my mum and everything of what had been going on, and then it emerged a bit later on in the evening news who it was, and the whole village was absolutely shocked, because obviously, you know, it was a small community, small village school, everybody knew everybody, and this guy was like a flipping no-hoper really. He was a really waste of time guy that did this awful thing. And her mum and dad were absolutely devastated, because she was such a pretty girl. She was a really, really attractive girl. Everybody sort of fancied her at school. And it was a massive, massive shock to everybody. The day of the funeral at the Gawsworth Church, it was unbelievable how many people attended. The church was full. They stood outside in the grounds. The flowers were amazing. And she was buried at Gawsworth Church. And it was a very sad day. It sort of stuck in your mind for a long while, because it was hard to understand what had actually gone on. You were sort of nearly dumbstruck with it all. You couldn't believe that something like this had happened in a little village. As a mark of respect, they actually got a local artist to design a stained glass window with a memorial on it, and that's in one of the west windows in Gawsworth Church. It's still there today. It's quite, you know, a long while now since this happened, and you don't really think about it until something like this comes along, and then it sort of kicks up in your mind again. You can remember it all pretty vivid, as if it had only happened a week before, and I suppose it will never leave you. You always remember it when you go into church, to different funerals, weddings and christenings, and you look at the stained glass window, and it just reflects back on what a sad time it was for everybody.
I've got to get out of here.